Sooner fans, Longhorn Nation, welcome to episode 104 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Texas and the University of Oklahoma. I'm here with my man, Kevin Miller. I am John Whitson. We took a short break last week and did not record because Kevin Miller ventured down into the great state of Texas, went back home to San Antonio, stopped on the 40 acres. Kevin, really quickly, how was Texas?
Well, it was a great trip. It was great to be back down there. I've been to Texas a few times in the last few years, but I haven't been down to San Antonio or Austin in literally 15 years, man. So it was great to be back. It was great to be in San Antonio. My wife, Casey, and I had a great time. We ate some great food. It was really good to be on the UT campus again. It's been way too long. Got reminded why I love that place so much.
Did you check out the basketball arena?
You know what? We did. It's awesome. We didn't get to go in, but just from the outside, it's a really cool spot. They somehow made it efficient to where it doesn't take up a ton of space, even though it's I think it's like a 12 or 13,000 seat facility. So they did a really good job with it. It was really cool to see it.
Well, while you are excited that you get to go to Austin, I have to go to Austin this upcoming weekend, and I will not share that same level of excitement. But what I will do is pick up Zero Sugar Big Red and bring them back for both of us, which I know you brought a little stash back, but I think I'm going to double stack it because once I tasted that the last time I was down south, I don't know what I've been doing with my life.
There's nowhere else to find it, man. And I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to find it there, but sure enough, man. And it was at the end of the aisle, the soda aisle, the HEB that we went to.
Dude, I tried to find it on Amazon. When I went down to San Antonio for Thanksgiving and I bought like a case and brought it up, about the time that case was dwindling, I started getting on Amazon. You can't find it. Like it's not out there on the internet. So I got to get back down there. That's the only reason that I'm going to be, because I'm getting Big Red. Get it? Big Red soda, but it's really good. You and I grew up on the real stuff, though.
For sure, man. You get older, things change a little bit health wise, so got to make different decisions. Let me tell you this though. One thing for me, I've been living away from Texas for 15 years, right? So I was living in Colorado Springs, where as far as colleges go, you don't really see one team represented. Kind of live near the military base. You see a lot of different fan bases there. CU wasn't as popular at the time. I'm sure that's changed. Now that Coach Prime has kind of got them with a buzz. Then moving here, obviously it's all about OU, and then you see some OSU as well. And it felt weird seeing the burnt orange everywhere, man. It had been so long. I caught myself like, oh, look, someone's wearing. I'm like, oh, we're in Austin, of course. So,
okay,
like I do when I'm here.
I hope you spread the Boomer Bevo gospel while you were down there. I hope you passed out business cards and stuff. That's what we need. We need some more of that. But we need some more Texas
I told
fans
a couple
listening.
people about it. Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm hoping to get. Definitely not gonna wait 15 years to go back. I'm hoping to get down there for a game this year, especially with this SEC schedule we got, which we're about to talk about.
Well, that's exactly right. Let's talk about this. Okay, so since we've been away from the podcast, Kevin, FanDuel and I'm guessing Vegas has come out with win totals for really all the conferences, but specifically for our first years in the SEC. Starting with Oklahoma, we're talking a 7.5 win over/under total for wins for Oklahoma. For Texas, we're talking 10.5 wins over/under. Kevin, both of these numbers sound crazy to me. Are they as crazy as they sound? Is one more sane than the other? You are the betting expert. You're basically a Tony Romo Nostradamus when it comes to picking wins and win totals. Is this are specifically Oklahoma and Texas? Are they right on? Are they way off? Or what am I looking at?
It's really interesting, right? Because I think most of this is based on the schedule, right? This year in 2023, we've talked about this. I thought that OU's record might have been a little bit better than the team actually was. Next year, I think it may be the opposite. I think your record may be lower, but you guys will be better than your record will represent, just because the schedule is so tough. You guys have a gauntlet this year. You had an easy schedule this year, and your schedule was really tough this year. Texas had a tougher schedule this year, but much easier in year one of the SEC. And I think that's the reason why these numbers are so different for the both
Yeah,
teams.
Texas, let's just dissect Texas just a little bit, okay? So you say 10.5. Now, granted, and we talked about this before, when you're looking at this graphic that's on here, guys. So if you can't see it, the graphic spells out Georgia at the top, Vanderbilt at the bottom, and they go down in terms of projected win total. Georgia and Texas are tied at 10.5 projected wins. Vanderbilt bottoms out at 2.5. If you look at Texas's schedule, they play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams with projected win totals of 6.5 or less. So Kentucky, Arkansas, Florida, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt all have win totals of under 6.5. With Mississippi State and Vanderbilt way down at 4.5 and 2.5. From that standpoint, I can start to buy into the 10.5 number. But you still have to play Michigan, which is at Michigan, right? You're going to Ann Arbor,
Michigan,
aren't you?
Correct. At the big house.
So you've got Michigan. You've got an OU team that even as good as you were last year, you still lost. And you've got Georgia. I mean, those are 3 games right there that could easily have you at a 9-3 season, and you wouldn't be far off. You'd be Michigan, Georgia, and Oklahoma. I mean, that the Texas one seems a little. I mean, I'm inclined to take the under, I guess is my point. You're losing all your receivers.
I understand that.
You're losing your defensive linemen. Now you are bringing Quinn back, and I know that's huge in the world of quarterbacks coming back. But man, you're losing a lot, and your schedule is picked up over what you had last year.
Yeah, I think that. But I think they're going to reload at a lot of positions too. I think we're actually going to be okay at receiver. Believe it or not, I have more concerns about the defensive line than I do the receivers, as good as our receivers were this past year. But no, I think the fact with Quinn being back, more experience, the running game is going to be really good. Offensive line being back, the secondary should be much improved. And again, it's a schedule, right? You mentioned that, but I think the OU game is always a swing game, no matter what this graphic says. And then the fact we just don't have to play any teams on the left besides Georgia and Texas A&M, who I think will be a favorite over, even in Kyle Field.
Yeah, but for 10.5 wins, you only have to have 2 losses.
Yeah.
And I feel like between Michigan, Georgia, Oklahoma, and A&M, and I don't know where your games are against Florida or anything. I mean, I think you're a better team than all those other teams.
Yeah, Florida's
but
an
there's 4 teams right there that all you have to do is go 2-2, and you hit the under.
Yeah. I wonder, how Vegas can be, right? They might put something out there just to get a lot of action on it. And you know how Texas is, such a polarizing program, it's going to get a lot of action, especially with a number like this.
Let's shift to Oklahoma. Oklahoma's at 7.5 win total. So the knock against OU is, I think, quarterback. I think quarterback is driving a lot of this win total. I think if Dylan Gabriel was coming back, you could see us maybe 8.5, even 9.5. I think that Jackson Arnold, especially his performance in the bowl game, if you just look at the stats, I think is driving down this win total. That and what we talked about, that there's only one team that is on OU's SEC schedule that has a win total of less than 6.5, and that's South Carolina at 5.5 games. Everybody else's win total is 7.5 or higher, including Alabama 9.5, LSU 9.5, Missouri 9.5, Ole Miss 9.5, Tennessee 8.5. I mean, that is a gauntlet.
Yeah. Now, if I'm looking at this graphic correctly, the only teams you don't play is Georgia and A&M. Is that correct?
As we look at this graphic, yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah,
we got Texas, Alabama, LSU, Missouri, Ole Miss, and Tennessee,
and then Auburn at 7.5 wins.
Okay, yeah, that's a gauntlet, man.
It's a gauntlet, right? I mean, these teams are, this. For some reason, Oklahoma got the true SEC schedule, right, which we've all been talking about. Because we look at yours, I mean, even the names aren't great for yours in terms of Vanderbilt, Arkansas, and Kentucky. Like those don't scare Texas fan. They wouldn't
Yeah.
scare Oklahoma fan to have those three teams on there. But on Oklahoma side, now that being said, Oklahoma just needs to find 8 wins. Okay, Temple, Houston, Tulane, and Maine. That's 4 right there.
Yeah, correct.
So now you got to find 4 more wins. You're hosting Tennessee. I think you beat Auburn. You're going to beat South Carolina. Now you just need a win against Missouri, Ole Miss, Bama, or LSU, or Texas. I mean, like, let's face it, we can beat Texas.
Yeah, it's a swing game every year.
But when you hear it out loud and you look at it like that, okay, so let me just, so we've kind of broke it down. Let's go back. Texas 10.5, OU 7.5. What would you, early on, you don't have to, I'm not saying this, we're not making picks. You don't have to go through the whole schedule. Do you take the over or the under for Texas at 10.5? Early pick, you had to bet today.
If I bet today, I would take the under.
I think so too.
Yeah, I have to see how the roster shakes out. And yeah, there's too many questions right now.
Okay, Oklahoma at 7. Right now. Oklahoma 7.5. You take the over or the under?
Oh man, probably a slight over. You could get to 8. It's my biggest question with OU is not Jackson Arnold; it's the offensive line.
Yeah, I mean we've done good in the portal. We've talked about that.
And we know Bevo can put something together, but you guys always have good tackles somehow, some way. Freaking Bevo, you get sending tackles to the league every year, right? Yeah. So we'll see what this current crop looks like. But that's my biggest concern with Oklahoma is the offensive line. With the combination of the offensive line, so a patched together new offensive line along with an inexperienced quarterback. It's that combination. If it was one or the other, for example, if it was Jackson Arnold behind last year's offensive line, Tyler Guyton, and Walter Rouse out there, I'd feel a little bit better about the Sooners' offense than I do now.
I like our pickups on the tight end position.
Okay.
I think we've even as good as Drake Stoops was, I think with the kid from Purdue, we've upgraded at wide receiver, and Drake Stoops had a great year. But I think in terms of just athleticism, if we get Andrell Anthony back, who was a big loss in that Texas game, near the end of that Texas game, we get Andrell Anthony back and he's able to perform. I feel like we've upgraded there. Running back, we're bringing some names in, though I still don't. Who's our guy? Who finished?
Sawchuk.
Sawchuk finished really strong, so maybe we can see some more of that. And then defensively, just to reiterate, we're bringing back Woody Washington, Bowman, Stutzman. So there's a lot of good names coming back on the defensive side of the ball, which I don't think this line's getting enough credit, giving enough credit to.
Yeah,
because that's always been Oklahoma's boogaboo, right? Is defense. But we're bringing some studs into the SEC on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, I feel really good about it.
Man, it's that schedule, man. I mean, going to LSU, and then LSU got it. Everybody has questions right now, right? Alabama's got a new coach or a whole new coaching staff. LSU's got a new quarterback. I think Missouri's actually going to be pretty good. Ole Miss, I think, will be pretty good as well. Tennessee's got the Nico kid who seems ready to go. But again, he's very inexperienced. Same boat as Jackson Arnold, right? Who knows what we're going to see from A&M if you guys don't play them. But, who knows, man? It's going to be fun. I can't wait.
Just a quick walk around the league. LSU gets to open against USC in the first week. So that's a bang. That's a bang right out of the.
Do we know where that game is being played at yet?
Vegas.
Oh man. Oh, sign me up. That's week 1, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, sign me up.
Arkansas is at Oklahoma State in week 2. So I think that could be interesting. Kind of see Alabama is at Wisconsin week 3. That's interesting for Alabama to actually have a true road game.
Very interesting. Yeah.
You get A&M at Florida with SEC play opening, Georgia, Kentucky, Ole Miss at Wake Forest. Let's see. Just looking for other big names.
Sure.
Those look like your biggest games there, at least from what I can tell. That's taking us into week 6. By then, we're having conference play. Um, when I look at this, I don't know where they're getting 8.5 for A&M. That seems high to me.
Correct. Yeah, I do think Coach is going to do a better job of managing the talent than Jimbo did because they've got the
Yeah,
roster right.
but what if they get 9 wins? That's the most wins they've had in 4 years at A&M.
Yeah,
And that's with a regime change at coach and having to add Texas onto their schedule.
yeah. They also have a game against Notre Dame. I saw that.
Oh, they
Notre Dame
do?
comes to yeah.
Yeah, eight and a, 8.5 just seems high.
I
Missouri,
think it's
people
week
love.
one for them.
Oh, did it? Was it week 1? Did I miss that? I
Yeah,
was so
check it
focused
out.
on that US. I was focused on that USC.
Also, Clemson versus Georgia in Atlanta.
Yep, there it is. And Miami versus Florida, week 1 too. Week 1's
Oh
going to be a
man,
heck
love
of a
it,
great week. Week 1's going
love
to be
it.
a great week. I don't know. People are on the Missouri train, at least nationally. I know Oklahoma fans been really bugged with Missouri. I guess nine and
I
a
get
half.
why
Yeah, I mean,
they
I know
finished
Tyler got.
strong.
Yeah,
They finished the season strong. They've got good players. We'll see, man. And with the NIL thing, they're picking up the kind of players that they normally wouldn't get. So at least they haven't in a while. They had that run where they got Chase Daniel and Jeremy Macklin and guys like that. But we haven't seen that in a while from them.
is there anything on here? Is there any line before we leave this topic? Any line on here outside of OU or Texas that you would jump on today, just with what you know so far?
I don't think so, man.
I
Just
take
because.
the I take the
Go ahead.
under on Ole Miss. I take the under on Ole Miss.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
nine
don't
and a half
believe
is
in
too.
the lane train.
I believe that he gets 9 wins. I think it's close, but
Okay,
no
but not
Quinshon
man.
Judkins. No Quinshon Judkins. Tough schedule. Um, I mean, dude, he's got Oklahoma on his schedule now too. As much as we're scared to play Ole Miss ain't going to be thrilled to play Oklahoma.
Where's that game at?
I think it's an Ole Miss. I think it's in the Grove.
Okay, let me find the schedule real quick. Because that should be a fun one.
I'm just saying. I don't know. I mean, I think Ole Miss is good, but they've got LSU on their schedule. Oklahoma at Ole Miss.
All right, here's your schedule. I got it here.
They got to play
Furman,
Georgia. Georgia's at
yeah.
Ole Miss. I don't
Furman,
know,
Middle
dude.
Tennessee. Well, here's the thing, though. Their first 4 games: Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, and Georgia Southern.
It's not going to
Then
exactly battle test
Kentucky.
him either.
Yeah, then Kentucky after that. South Carolina. Then LSU. They got to go to Baton Rouge. Then they play OU. That is in Oxford. They go to Arkansas. Then they play Georgia. They play at Florida and Mississippi State. That schedule's pretty weak for an SEC schedule.
They don't have Alabama.
No, I'm gonna go through the whole thing. Furman, Middle Tennessee, at Wake Forest, and Georgia Southern. That should be 4-0, right?
Yep.
I don't think Then Kentucky goes to Oxford.
You just never know with Kentucky. They're going to get a
Yeah,
win
you
at
never
one of
know.
those. They're going to get a win
Correct.
on one of those, but they're
Then they go to South Carolina, so they could legitimately be 6-0 before they go to LSU. Right? They beat
they still
LSU
need.
last year.
They got to play
Yeah.
LSU, Oklahoma,
OU.
Georgia,
Well, they play at
and
Arkansas, so that could be another win. Will be 7. Then they got Georgia, at Florida, and then Mississippi State, the Egg Bowl.
I don't know, man. I still think I take the under. I don't. We'll see as it gets closer. We'll see. We'll check it out.
Yeah. Fascinating
I,
stuff, though, man.
dude, listen. I, I, the anticipation of the SEC season of the 2024 season is such a mixture of anxiety and excitement. I've
Correct.
never felt this way going into a football season. Like, I believe in Oklahoma. I believe in what Brent Venables has done. I believe in us as a program. I think we are I mean, dude, we beat Texas. Texas was in the college football playoff last year, and we beat you guys. Like we are a good program. We're a historically good program. And yet I see the schedule, I see these win totals, and I say, my God, this is just like my brain can't almost handle it.
I'm telling you, it's going to be insane this year. I don't know if you're planning to go to any games. I don't know how you don't. With some of those teams that are coming to Norman. I mean, you got Alabama coming to Norman. What? Tennessee? I mean,
I think,
what
dude,
are we
I think I want
talking
to go
about
to.
here?
I think I want to go to the Grove now. After we just
Yeah,
talked about it, I think I want to go to
you
the
got
Grove.
games at Ole Miss and at LSU.
I'll wear a bow tie.
You give me that guy. Tell Jeffrey to do it. He'll fit in. He'll fit in with
There's a
those
lot
guys.
of that guy at that game, though.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk some college basketball. Texas just came off a big win. Is that right?
Yeah, big win against Kansas State.
Well, hey, dude, take the win. Take the win.
Exactly. We talked about this on our last episode. Any win in this conference is a big win.
Oklahoma and Texas this is where OU and Texas are in terms of basketball compared to each other. They're both 6-7 in the conference record, 6-7. And they both are currently in bracketology an 8 seed.
Here are the standings here. Yeah, man, it's just such a gauntlet, man, going through this conference, right? I mean, there's even Oklahoma State is not, the record's 3-9. When you play them, and it's a tough game, right?
Well, this is the problem, right? So Oklahoma plays them Saturday. That's a great segue into what we have to face Saturday. Oklahoma has to play Oklahoma State. It was an absolute dogfight in Norman. They're going to give you their absolute best shot. One of the last Bedlam, well, it is the last Bedlam conference game for sure. Maybe we'll see them in the Big 12 championship bracket, but it's the last Bedlam regular season game. They're going to come absolutely. The crowd's going to be unhinged, and we have to beat them. So I've been talking about it all season long. I think we have to be at 500. You look at where we're at, 6-7, and you're at 6-7. You got to be at 500. So you got to say to yourself, okay, if you're Oklahoma, you play OSU, Iowa State, Houston, Cincinnati, and Texas. You've got to win 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. You got to win Oklahoma State. You got to win Cincinnati, and you have to beat Texas or Iowa State because you're not beating Houston.
Yeah.
That's Oklahoma's schedule. For Texas, you're not beating. I don't think you're beating Kansas at Kansas.
Neither do I. Neither do I. I mean, let's be honest about this.
But you got Texas Tech, which
I love it, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know if that's any big win. You have OSU. You've got to win that game. You've got Baylor. You can win that game, but it's at Baylor. Although Baylor is 8-5 and currently a 3 seed, and Oklahoma. So you're kind of, if you're a Texas fan, you're not penciling anything in, but you're kind of penciling in Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. Although I hope Oklahoma has something to say about it. Although I don't feel great about it. But I don't know where your other win's going to come from. So that's going to leave you 2 games under 500. And is 2 games under 500 get you into the tournament?
I still think it might, the way this conference is set up.
Does it get you to 20 wins?
That I don't know. Where are we at right now?
Overall record for Texas is 17. So you've got to get 3 wins to get to 20.
Yeah, 3 wins.
So if the 3 wins get you to 500 and 20 overall wins, you're in. Like you are in.
Yeah.
But 19 and 2 games under 500 in the conference.
You're on the bubble at that point.
I think you're on the bubble. And same thing for Oklahoma. Like everything we're saying is exactly the same for both teams because they're in the exact same spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what it's doing is if you end up being 7-9 at the end of the regular season, if Oklahoma gets to 7-9, they will actually have 20 wins because I guess we played one more game than you guys. But I still think it means at 7-9, you have to win the first round game in the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah.
I think that's the position you put yourself in if you're 7-9, which was why I think it's so important to get to 8-8. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. Like I said, this Kansas game is going to be rough, right? We know how it is there. Just weird things happen. It's incredibly difficult for anybody to win there, especially when Kansas is up for it, which 99% of the time they are, especially against Texas. You know how that goes. At Texas Tech, You already know how.
God, they hate y'all. They hate y'all so
More
much.
than y'all do. It's different,
Especially in
right?
basketball. Especially in basketball.
Correct.
It's crazy.
Yeah, the whole Chris Beard thing, took it even to a whole nother stratosphere. Oklahoma State, that's an absolute must win, and then you got to get one of these last two at Baylor. Maybe nice if you got both, but that one at Baylor is going to be tough, and the Oklahoma game in Austin is also going to be tough.
Okay, there are currently in the bracketology, there are 9 out of 14 teams are in. Cincinnati is the first 4 out with a 5-7 record in conference. K-State is out, UCF is out, West Virginia is out, Oklahoma State are out. I still think Kansas State and Cincinnati each have an ability or an opportunity to play themselves in if they were to get hot. I don't know what their schedules are. If they've got games against Kansas, Houston, and Iowa State, it might be tough for them to play themselves in, but I think they can still make a run. Oklahoma and Texas, we have to hold serve. We just have to hold serve. I think Oklahoma has an easier path to 500 than Texas does, but really it's probably going to come down to the head-to-head. How awesome would that be if it came down to the game on Saturday?
That last game, yeah,
in a couple
it would
weeks.
be crazy. Okay, real quick, Cincinnati has Oklahoma State,
Okay,
at TCU, at Houston. That's tough, man. Kansas State at home. They go to Norman, and then they close up against West Virginia at home.
When do they play OSU? Are they playing OSU tonight?
Yes, tonight.
Okay, yeah. For whatever reason, I guess y'all played on Monday. We didn't have a midweek game this week.
Okay.
This must be our break. What is that? This is Cincinnati, right?
Cincinnati, correct.
So they could win at OSU. They could win at KSU. They could win at WVU. And that.
We'll see. Can they still win at TCU?
Well, they could win at TCU.
Yeah.
And they lose Houston and they lose at Oklahoma, hopefully. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 and 2. They're currently 5-7, and that gets them to the magic number of 800. I mean, of 500.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's got a very look at K-State's remaining.
I've got K-State here. Their remaining schedule. So they've got BYU.
Lost.
That's at home for them in Manhattan.
Oh, maybe. Okay. I'll come back to it.
Okay. West Virginia, also in Manhattan, Kansas. So at home.
Okay.
They go to Cincinnati. We talked about that one. Then they go to Kansas. And then they finish at home against Iowa State. Really good Iowa State team.
Okay, so the last 2 are losses. Oh, they could beat BYU.
Yeah.
They could beat BYU. They can absolutely beat WVU. And then I've got Cincinnati winning that's probably a toss-up game. Again, if they are to beat Cincinnati, they could easily be 500 in the league and in the tournament. It's just crazy, dude. It's crazy how close everything is. The problem I'm having with Oklahoma right now is that their wins are so ugly. When they beat a team, it's because the other team played so poorly. Does that make sense? And not because Oklahoma made them play poorly. I mean, I guess that's one way to look at it. But it just doesn't feel that way. Like, I don't know, dude. Our last one was against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State played terrible that game. They shot terrible. They played terrible, and yet we barely won. So BYU, that was a very solid win. The BYU was a solid win.
Yeah, that's probably your best performance of the year, right? Would you say?
Yes, especially in the second half. But even against K-State, when we finally got a win on the road, K-State shot like 21% from the field. We talked about that in the last podcast.
Historically poor shooting day.
I mean, so it's like in addition to us having to play well, it seems like based on historical data from this season, we've got to count on our opponent playing really, really poorly. Does that make sense?
It
And
does.
I just don't know that you're going to get that. I don't know if you're going to get that from OSU in Stillwater on Saturday.
Yeah. We'll see how focused you guys are. It's one, like you said, you need to win for multiple reasons. Kind of like the football game last year.
Houston's a number 1 seed. Iowa State's a 3 seed. Kansas a 2 seed. Baylor a 3 seed. Tech 6. BYU 6. TCU is a 9. OU and Texas are 8 seeds. Pretty good conference, dude.
Yeah.
We just got to get in.
Great.
Either school.
Get in, man. You get a chance.
Hopefully, I mean, for the sake of the Boomer Bevo Podcast, hopefully we both get in.
Correct.
If we can both get in, I think either team could make a run. I mean, listen, dude, Oklahoma and Texas can be Sweet 16 teams given the right draw.
Right. Especially
maybe not if
the guard play.
But an 8 seed though, does that mean you're playing a 1 seed to get in the Sweet 16?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you want to sneak up to a 7 seed maybe? Houston,
Stay tuned, man.
Houston is a legit,
good, man.
Houston's a legit 1 seed, dude, and that's with 3 losses.
They really are.
All right.
See, when UConn lost to Creighton yesterday, they're number 1.
And McDermott still, he hasn't played for them for 10 years.
There you go.
That's the only guy I can think of from Creighton.
Still balling. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. Let's take a minute here and thank our sponsor, Brown O'Haver. Brown O'Haver is a public insurance adjusting firm. They work for the insured, not the insurance company. So if you've had a loss to your home or your business that you're going to file an insurance claim on, you want to give a call to Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510. Let them work for you to get you paid more money on your insurance claim. Even if you've already filed a claim, even if you've already been paid, even if you don't think there's any money left on the claim to get, that's the best time to give it over to Brown O'Haver, because then every dollar they find is free money. And we only get paid, or I should say Brown O'Haver, which is also a me, we only get paid if you get paid. So give Brown O'Haver a call, 405-735-5510. Kevin, this has zero to do with Oklahoma and Texas. Well, I don't know, Trae Young played. But the NBA All-Star Game, there's been a lot, this is just my take, okay? There's been a lot of crap given the All-Star Game. And I know the score was 211 to 186. I get it. But man, what I saw in the first half, and this is an old dude. This is old school. I grew up watching late 80s, early 90s basketball. Like, give me the Celtics, give me the Pistons, give me the Lakers, give me the Bulls from the mid 90s. So, I mean, I'm old school. You know this. Larry Bird's my favorite player of all time. I loved what I saw in the first half of that All-Star game. The shooting that was on display was amazing. Dame Lillard, Steph, Halliburton, SGA. It was unbelievable, dude. The collection of talent that was on the court and the display of shooting that they put on, I was mesmerized, man. And why am I in the minority on this? Why am I the only person that thought this All-Star game, and we'll talk a little bit about All-Star weekend, was freaking awesome? I loved it. Why is everybody poo-pooing it?
Here's why I think, man. Over the last few years, the All-Star game has kind of turned into a bit of a layup line, right? Where everybody kind of just stands back and lets the guy shoot from half court, lets him do a crazy dunk. But what we would see normally is in the fourth quarter, when it got down to it, the intensity would skyrocket and it would turn into a competitive game, even if it was just for half of a quarter.
Right.
And I don't think we saw that because it was so out of hand. I think that's why people are so. Give us some kind of competition here.
I get it, but dude, you're right. It does turn into a layup line. But like you said, it was a layup line with shots from the logo, dude. Like these guys
pulled up from half court. It wasn't a heave. It was a legit shot.
It was a legit shot, man. And in Halliburton, dude, he was like 10 for 14 from threes and just draining them. And I don't know. I got caught up in it. And I'm thinking, dude, I want to see another guy shoot. Like, just keep shooting. It was fantastic.
Yeah. I think people need to temper their expectations, especially old school. And again, I know you're as old school as they come, right?
When it
You're a
comes
few
to
years older
NBA,
than
I
me.
am.
I'm still old school, right? But not as old school as you when it
No,
comes to
what you're saying.
certain things.
Yes, I am older than you, is what you're saying, and that is
No, I'm
correct.
saying, but like even when it comes to old school,
Yeah.
like I'm old school, but I'm also with the new school too.
No, dude, give me Charles Oakley and Bill Laimbeer every day of the week. Like, I will trade Bill Laimbeer and Charles Oakley for any two players playing right now. Like, those dudes would kill people today. They'd be dead.
You gotta have some skill now. That's the thing. The league is so talented right now.
No.
And
The reason you have to have skill is because they've taken any physicality out of the game.
when you
The
can be
game was
physical,
more.
you just
The game
can't
was
be.
so much more physical back in the 80s and 90s. Okay, it was
Yeah,
a grown man's game. It's a child's game now. And if that's what
I
you want to
wouldn't
be
go
mad
that
about,
far.
you want to be mad about children playing, that's fine. But don't be mad about the shooting. The shooting was fantastic.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a child's game.
Child's game.
But it's not. You can't clothesline
Kids are
guys in
playing
the
it.
air like you used to be. There's too
Listen,
much
dude,
money on the line.
Isaiah Thomas in the finals was getting destroyed by the Lakers. He played the quarter he scored 25 points in. He had a bloody eye and a broken ankle and was just miserable. Steph never ever got hurt, and he never got touched in a finals game. Steph has never been touched in the finals.
He's
He
been
wouldn't know
touched.
what happened if he had contact. He had no idea how to handle it.
Maybe
Which,
you're right. Maybe I just don't know. We've never seen it.
yeah, and you'll never see it because everybody's a bunch
Yeah.
of pansies. It's
Yeah,
like what
too
Larry
much money.
Bird
You
said
can't.
about talk about old school. It's what Larry Bird said about the Celtics in the first after game one. After game
He
3 of
didn't
the
say
LA Lakers in
pansies.
'84. We're
He
playing
didn't
like
say
a
they
bunch of
play like.
sissies.
That's not what he said.
I don't know. Can we say what he said? I don't know. Can it be said? I don't know.
I mean, it can be said. It's just it hasn't aged well.
No, it hasn't aged.
It's not, and it's not a curse word. But he said we play like a
we,
bunch of women. Is what he said.
no. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. He did say
That's
that.
what he said.
He played. Yeah, no. Larry Bird had a way of putting stuff, and that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is people, dude, they killed each other back then.
They did.
It was life or death. Now it's a shooting gallery. Now that's fair.
It was.
If you want to
the
say
Jordan
that,
rules changed that. It was the Jordan rules. The league couldn't have their best player getting clotheslined to the ground when he's in the air. It's too much money on the line.
And he did. He got destroyed. For people
Correct.
that don't know, whatever they want to say about Jordan, he put his what's the right word? He put his body on the line to become the best player in the world.
Correct. But here's the thing: and it's a combination of two things. But once he started hitting the weights, got up to 220 pounds, and the Pistons couldn't handle him. And they were getting a little bit older too, but Laimbeer and it was not effective anymore.
I'll add a third point. He developed a 3-point shot.
True.
He didn't have a 3-point shot until 91, 92. He did not have he was not a bona fide 3-point shooter, and somebody that you counted on putting a bunch of threes up.
Yeah.
And that came to
court out more.
Yeah, he spread the court out more. Yeah, he was a much.
Listen, it was so mesmerizing to see when he got to that point where he was going to the rack and absorbing the contact from Laimbeer and Rick Mahorn and Charles Oakley, and still able to Anthony Mason, and still able to finish with that contact. From that moment, he was completely unstoppable. There's nothing anybody can do with him.
I also liked on the Saturday night stuff. First of all, I grew up with that stuff. I love Saturday night. I was telling stories to Marjorie about as a kid, I had a VHS. I had recorded the 1988 All-Star Saturday night.
Oh, man.
Right. So this is the most iconic Saturday night of all time. Okay. This is Michael Jordan versus Dominique Wilkins in the dunk contest. Okay. Back when men were men and you couldn't miss dunks or win against you, right? Like, it was legit. And then Larry Bird winning his third of 3-point shooting contests with the iconic hold the finger up without even looking at the basket.
Yeah, when he had his warm-ups on, right?
Has his warm-ups on, and he gets down to the final. He needs the final one to go in. He's down 1. It's a money ball. He's got to make it. Shoots it, turns around, don't even look at it. Number 1 in the air. I watched it all the time as a kid. So I watched this one. I got to tell you, the 3-point shooting, I still thought was really, really, really good. I thought it was really, really, really good.
Yeah.
What'd you think about Sabrina versus Steph? Any
I thought it was
comments there?
fun. No, I thought it was great. Yeah.
People that want to hate on that,
What?
are
Yeah.
people
What is
are
there
they
to hate
immune
on?
to fun? Are they immune to fun?
Yeah. People are gonna find someone to complain about with everything. I don't
The
see what
girl,
problem you can have with that. She was great.
dude, she rolled out and shot 26. She would have been in the finals with the dudes. She would have been in the finals with the guys. And I'm not saying she doesn't beat those dudes.
She shot it from the NBA line too. The WNBA 3-point line is shorter. She shot it from the NBA line.
And she did not look out of place doing it. She was
No.
stroking it.
Yeah, she's a baller. She's a baller. I watched her play a few times at Oregon. Right? Women's college basketball is really interesting. There's some dynamic players that play college basketball. It's a little bit more fascinating than the WNBA is to me personally. When she was at Oregon, man, it was fun to watch.
I'm not going to make this into a thing where I'm going to somehow defend the WNBA. The WNBA is a terrible product. I can't watch the WNBA.
Yeah, I mean,
I can watch college basketball when it involves like Oklahoma, and
yeah.
maybe even no,
If there's
pretty
a
much
good
just
player,
Oklahoma.
I'll tune in. If there's a great
Well,
player, just like with
you'll
any
watch
sport.
you'll watch Caitlin Clark.
Correct. Yeah, I watch LSU. You know what I mean? And again, it's not like
Yeah.
it's not must see TV for me, but I'll tune in for it because it's
I will watch OU play girls basketball, and I'll definitely go watch it in person. I've taken my daughters to go watch it. I enjoy it in person. It isn't, it's, but the WNBA it is borderline. Well, it is unwatchable. It's not even borderline. It's unwatchable. And this is from a guy who watches a lot of women's sports. I watch women's golf all the time. Watch women's soccer all the time. Softball, of course. Now that we're coming into softball season, and when the World Series is on, I'll watch all the teams, not just Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's fun. It's a lot of fun watching the College World Series for softball.
I don't even know what other women's sports are out there that I need to watch, but I'm sure I watched those way before I watched the WNBA. It's bad. It's bad basketball, man. It's not good. But that doesn't mean they can't shoot.
Yeah, exactly. They're ballers, right? And she's great. I thought it was fun, competing against Steph. And again, the WNBA line is shorter than the NBA line, and she shot all those from the NBA line. And she's used to shooting from the WNBA line. And she nailed 26 from the NBA line. I thought she was fantastic.
And as good as she was, Steph is still the greatest shooter in NBA history.
Correct. No one's ever shot a basketball as well as he has. Literally no.
And it's the most. It's the prettiest shot I've ever seen too. Like everything about it is a pleasant experience to embrace. Is him shooting a basketball. It is smooth.
Correct.
It is effortless. It's as close to perfect as you can have. And so it's combine the accuracy and the effectiveness with the aesthetic. And there's just, I don't know if there's anything better in sports than watching Steph Curry shoot a basketball. And I'm not even a Steph Curry fan. I don't really like the Warriors, but my God, he can shoot a basketball. It is unbelievable.
Correct. And for him to be the NBA's all-time leading, 3-point shooter, and to be, a career over 40% guy, I think that's the crazy part. To not just shoot volume, to shoot as many as he has shot, and to still be over, 40% for his career. It's pretty crazy.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And then the dunk contest, you got a guy from the G League winning the dunk contest. Forget about it. It's so good.
Well,
Jaylen Brown had no business making the finals. He had no business making the finals.
Here's the thing I didn't understand about that, especially with the judges, right? The judges have always been kind of weird when it comes to these things. But the kid Jacob Toppin, dude did a 360 between the legs. When have we ever seen that? And he gets a 47. Like, what do you? If that doesn't get you a 50, then we're just done.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
360 between the legs. Nailed it first try, right? Was it first try and nailed it?
Yes.
And gets a 47. I'm just like, okay, I'm done at this point.
No, that's fair. Look, it's hard. It's got to be really, really hard to come up with dunks. Like, you know, but at the same time, you're pulling Shaq out. The guy's 7'2". You were jumping over Shaquille O'Neal.
Yes.
And the one where the dude catches it and drops it and catches it again and dunks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great stuff. But yeah, people are so spoiled, man. And again, I think maybe it will be a little bit different if the stars did it like they used to. Right? LeBron never did it. He's not a creative dunker, though. He's just a guy who just jumps out of this.
Yeah, but even back in the day, they did it at the beginning.
Correct.
So Jordan did it in 87 and 88.
Yeah.
Maybe 80. He might have done 86 too. I don't know. But he did 87 and 88. And then Kobe did it his first couple years in the league, or at least his
Mm-hmm.
first year. And Blake Griffin early on in his career did it. And then did LeBron ever do a dunk
He
contest?
never did it.
Huh.
He never did it. And again, he's not creative like those other guys are. All those guys you mentioned before. He's just a guy who
Yeah.
just jumps so high and just dunks so hard.
Yeah.
Whereas Blake can do that, but was also incredibly creative with his dunks. He's doing windmills and 360s in games.
Okay. You can't count Jordan, your most iconic dunk contest memory.
Okay, there's two things that come to mind. All right, number one, okay, well, just two things. I'm not gonna say which one is more important. The contest between Levine and Aaron Gordon, but I think it was 2016. However,
Yep.
nothing has made me feel like I felt seeing Vince Carter's 360 windmill in 2000. I mean,
Was that the same dunk contest where he put his arm through the rim?
correct. Yeah,
Listen.
the 360 windmill was his first dunk. We just never seen it before. And I know now kids might hear this like it's a 360 windmill. We had never seen that in a game and a dunk contest. Nothing like that before.
No,
And
Vince
he
Young was
nailed it first time.
Vince Carter was the best dunker all time in a dunk contest.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
and to me, he's the best dunker in NBA history, period.
He,
Because his in-game dunks.
dude, he literally jumped over like a 7'4" guy in the Olympics. Remember that dunk?
Oh, I'll never
Like
forget
he
it.
went
Yeah, against
over
France.
the dude in the Olympics and threw it down.
And
And
when you hear the commentary from the French commentators, remember they're playing against France. It's the French commentator; they're losing their minds.
listen, he was the perfect. We talked about LeBron with power, and he was so like these dunks this past weekend. Which, listen, you slow those down and you look at what those guys are doing, and it's unbelievable. Okay, it's unbelievable. I don't want to even take it away from anything that they did, but when Vince Young would dunk, you had all the creativity that you saw this past weekend with a tremendous amount of power that you did not see. Like
Yeah.
his dunks were rim shaking.
He was
like
I think the best way to describe him is if you took Dominique Wilkins and Michael Jordan and just morphed them into one. Because remember, Dominique would just do, his windmill. It's like, how do you not break your hand on the rim, man? You're dunking so hard every time. And then Jordan just floating in the air, just contorting his body. Put those two together, and you got Vince Carter as far as a dunker goes.
And then for whatever reason, I will always go back to D Brown with the pumps. I love D Brown pumping the shoes up.
Yeah.
And guess what?
I got a Celtics guy too.
He was a Celtics guy. I got the pumps. I had pumps that year, and I pumped them, and I loved it. I was there. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Jordan and was that 80? What year was that when he had the chains on? He did that kind of lean down. Was that 86? I think it was 80 because they had the old Chicago script print on the jersey.
I think it might have been his rookie year, which would have been 85, maybe.
Okay. That one's iconic. And of course, the free throw line was incredible. Spud Webb at 5'7".
Oh, I forgot about Spud Webb.
Dunking two basketball. I mean, what are we talking? 5'7"?
Yeah. No, but that's, I think you're right. I think the right word is spoiled. Like we're looking for something where guys like you and I can look at what we saw last Saturday night and go, that's like incredibly difficult to do. It's incredibly difficult to do what we saw on last Saturday.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. All these guys are like, again, hating on the All-Star game. Okay, it could have been more competitive. I can't remember who necessarily won All-Star games. I remember All-Star MVPs and stuff like that. I will say this. I was never a Kobe fan. Obviously until he died, but I always respected his game.
Yeah.
When he played in an All-Star game, he would lock dudes down. He did not care.
No. He's getting after it.
Is he the most competitive, even including Michael Jordan, the most competitive NBA player of all time? Or
it's hard to separate the two of them when it comes to that. They're both absolute maniacal when it comes to their competitiveness.
Yeah.
Just complete maniacs, man.
Kobe got 5 titles.
Yeah, he got 5.
LeBron only has 4.
LeBron has 4.
I don't know.
I still take LeBron over Kobe. You know, I think we talked about this, but I mean, I love Kobe, man. Yeah, I mean, just the fire, the passion, the intensity, the focus. But I preferred young Kobe wearing number 8 with a fro because he was a dog defensively, man. He could score 40, but man, I mean, he was first team on defense. He's playing like Scottie Pippen level defense on guys, shutting down Allen Iverson in the finals. Remember that when Allen Iverson went nuts in Game 1 of the 2001 NBA Finals,
Well,
and
so
they put Kobe on him after that.
I remember when the Thunder had their first playoff series against the Lakers. So it's the first time they were in the playoffs. So I want to say it was like a 2-7 matchup, and the Lakers were 2 and the Thunder were 7. I think I'm remembering that right. So I think we got out to like maybe a 3-2 lead in that series or something like it was a very competitive series. And Russell Westbrook, who idolized Kobe, right? I mean, that's his guy.
Yeah, LA, he's an LA kid.
LA kid, and that's who that's his guy. He comes out, I want to say game 6, might have been game 5, but game 5 or game 6 in LA, and Kobe had enough of it. And he just says, you know what, I got Russell. And he starts picking Russell up full court. He picked Russell up full court. Yeah. And you could see Russ's eyes going like, what the hell's happening?
What's this guy doing? Yeah.
What's this guy doing? Like, first of all, he hadn't guarded him all series, and nobody was definitely picking him up full court. And Kobe was like, no, I'm not. No, this is not good. I'm stopping this right now. And he stopped it. He literally freaked Russell Westbrook out. And it was a really kind of a welcome to the NBA playoffs for Russell Westbrook. And I'll never forget that. But you're right. Back in the day, but you look at Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was all defense. 87, 88, 89.
Yeah, defensive player of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct.
Has LeBron ever made all defensive teams?
Oh, yeah, he's made several.
Dude, you're such an apologist for LeBron, dude. You got really quick and defensive just then. You got very quick and defensive.
Speaking of
the fact that I question, listen, dude, he's got one defensive play in his 29-year career, and it's the block in the finals. And that's it. That's the only defensive play I can remember him.
Oh, you talking about the block on Shackle's Twitter?
Yes, that's the only one I can remember him making.
Let's see.
He has not ever made another defensive play that I can remember. He's the least memorable defensive player of any of the great players.
Who would you include on that list?
I'm talking about great players. Great all-time players. Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic's made better defensive plays than that.
He's 6
I mean, maybe not that, but made more consistent defensive plays. Yeah.
He's 6-time all defense.
Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah.
And again, like I'm not saying he's Scottie Pippen or Michael Jordan or even Kobe when it comes to locking you down defensively.
I know I always get a bunch of crap from you about Larry Bird, but Larry Bird was actually a very good off-the-ball defender and made some great defensive plays.
You have never heard me say a bad thing about Larry Bird.
I know you give me crap about it. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think you give Larry Bird his due. I don't think you give Larry Bird his due.
I can't. You've never heard me say a bad thing about the
man. Sometimes when I'm working out and I'm on YouTube and I'm doing surfing, I just watch trash talk videos of Larry Bird. It's my favorite thing to watch.
Oh, great.
My absolute favorite thing to watch.
The Sean Kemp story. I mean, you got to look it up, man.
Oh, no, I've seen the Sean Kemp story. You got the Sean Kemp story. It seems like he did a lot of this stuff against the Supersonics for some reason. Because there's also an Xavier McDaniel story where he's like, I'm going to go shoot it right there and you can't do anything about it. But you know what his best trash talk line was, right? Like they were all talking about it.
No, let's hear it.
He went up to Charles Barkley when he was still at the 76ers, and some white guy was guarding him. And he goes, Chuck, why are y'all disrespecting me? And Barkley's like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, why are y'all disrespecting me? And he's like, Larry, we're not trying to disrespect you. I don't know what you're talking about. You got a white guy guarding me, and I'm going to tear him up.
Oh, my God.
You put like 50 on him. Apparently, he said it. Anytime they put a white guy on him, he would just
He was
rip
like,
the.
50. What are
He'd
y'all
rip
thinking
them.
here?
Oh my gosh, dude! Oh my god! Why are you disrespecting me? Putting a white guy.
What I liked about those times, compared to now, is because of the AAU stuff now, all the players know each other and they're all friends before they go to college and before they go to the NBA. So now guys are friendly with each other. Back then,
Yes.
these guys hated each other.
Yeah.
And again, I don't blame it's the AAU system that's
They
ruined
hated
that.
each other just because they weren't on the same team.
Correct.
Just for
Yeah,
no
nothing
other reason.
personal.
For
Yeah.
no other reason, they hated the Pistons because they were the Pistons. That was it. That's all you had to do was be on the
Yeah.
Pistons to hate them. Be on the Lakers. Be on the 76ers. That's all you had to do back in the day.
Those teams are easy to hate, especially the Pistons, man. They all had guys. They had villains, man. And the villains were the guys who weren't that good. They're just out there gooning.
Oh, they were the worst.
I mean, not that Bill Laimbeer wasn't good. Now, we know, you know what I mean. As far as like,
I know exactly what you
skill
mean.
guys, guys who are out there.
For a modern day equivalent, it was. I respect them a whole lot more than the name I'm about to say, but there were like 3 dudes that are like Draymond Green is today.
Correct.
Except for I think they backed it up a little better. I think they backed it up a little bit better than Draymond and took less shots at dudes' nuts. He's always kicking dudes in the nuts. Have you noticed that about Draymond Green? It's a bit much.
There's several instances of that. Yeah.
But a lot of dudes just got under your skin and were physical, and man, they were oh my god.
Yeah. They used to fight. Again, you can't do that now, but they used to fight. I mean, they were.
Well, we talked about it, right?
So many examples of fights.
So we talked about it with that '84 series with the Lakers and the Celtics, and they literally McHale clotheslined Kurt Rambis.
Yeah,
like clotheslined him.
Literally,
and then they like swinging, and they're swinging, and they blow whistles, and everybody's on the floor, and the whole deal, and it calms down, and Kurt Rambis takes his 2 foul shots, and they go on with the game. Like no flagrant,
regular foul,
no tape being reviewed, common foul, 2 shots. It's like that wasn't happening now, man. There'd be flagrants. They'd be going to the monitor. People that came off the bench
suspended. I mean, we're talking like double-digit suspension.
Dude,
the skill level's a lot better now. I'll say that, but it was so entertaining back then.
Listen, the skill level is better. The skill level is better. Nobody shot the ball like Dame Lillard shoots the ball now.
Yeah,
nobody in the league.
Everybody's skilled. Like there are no guys who can't play anymore.
Look at Karl Anthony Towns.
Correct. There are no guys that can't play. Back then,
we haven't even talked about Wemby and all those guys.
Yeah, future All-Star. This dude, Victor Wembanyama is unreal, man. I'm so glad he's on the Spurs. Enjoy the All-Star game without him because I think from this point forward, he's a perennial All-Star. Every year he's going to be there.
And I want to close with this, but real quick, Shea is still. He put up the quietest 31 of all those dudes.
Correct.
He's just.
That's how he does every game.
Every single game, and you see a lot of Thunder games. You've got partial season tickets. He can put 40 up, and you don't remember a shot he took. You don't remember a shot he took.
He's so efficient, man, and he just gets it done. He gets to his spots. He can. I think he might be the hardest player in the NBA to guard because he's so herky-jerky, right? He just kind of glides around the court, slithers around the court. It's like he's on skates.
Can you think of a former player, speaking of like old school players, that remind you of him? Because I have a hard time because, again, it's so quiet. It's just so effortless. And, he gets to his spots.
Look up at the Jumbotron if you're at the arena, it's like, oh, he's got a 30. Huh. When
I watched him play the Cavaliers this year, he had 29 in the first half, and I couldn't remember a bucket he had.
Yeah,
I just couldn't. They were all very easy floaters, very easy shots around the rim. Not easy in the sense that they're easy, but easy in the sense that he made it look easy, and so then it became a non-event. And he's got 29, and you're up 10, and you're like, oh, okay.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of guys who can create their own shot, and he can do it in so many different ways, right? He can shoot the outside. He can get to the hole. He can dribble to the hole, stop and pop. He's got footwork. He's got post moves, turnaround, fadeaways. He can do it all. I know NBA defenders hate guarding him because he's so unpredictable.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
So
I still think
unpredictable.
the Thunder are 1.5 games back of the Timberwolves. Speaking of Karl Anthony Towns, um, I don't know if this is their year, but they are literally giving up zero in draft capital to get to this what could be the second seed in the West. I don't want them. I just don't want them to have to play the Lakers, though. I don't think the Lakers is a good matchup for them.
Here are the NBA standings here. You can see, like you said, Minnesota's the 1 seed, 39-16. The Thunder are actually a game and a half back
Yeah.
right now of Minnesota. Huge game tomorrow night. The Clippers and Thunder.
Is
at
that
the
stuck
Paycom
on
Center.
Is that stuck on Bally's though, or will I get to watch it?
It is going to be on Valley.
Oh, effing Bally's! Come on, guys, get
Well,
your.
I know. The rights have been sold to Amazon. I don't know what's going to happen with that and when it's going to change. So hopefully soon, because that Valley Sports app, every time you use it, it's like you've never been on before. I have to log in every time I try to use that app. It's so frustrating, man.
Well, and well, that is expensive. In the world
Yeah.
of apps, it is a very, very expensive app for it not to work very well.
Yeah, exactly. It was $20 a month. Thankfully, I use my in-laws
Yeah.
because they still have cable. They have actual cable, so they get it with that. But yeah, man, it's really, really frustrating.
But you see, okay, see the Lakers there at 9.
Correct.
Like I worry about the Lakers making it into and I don't know how the play-in game works, where they need to be, but like 8-7 or what, where they would play the 2 seed in the first round.
Yeah.
I don't love that.
Yeah, it's tough. And we know this, right? NBA basketball, especially playoff basketball, is all about matchups, not about who's the higher seed. It's just we've seen this with the Spurs when they lost to Memphis because they couldn't handle, this deal that they were doing with Marc Gasol. So the Thunder so far have struggled with elite size, which the Lakers have.
I know they got beat by the Mavericks earlier this month, but I still think the Mavericks are a good matchup for them. I actually think the Warriors are not a bad matchup for the Thunder.
Yeah, I think the Thunder would beat the Warriors.
It's just it's the guys that have the presence inside, like an Anthony Davis or something. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, and what's tough is I went to the game early. It was it might have been the first home game this year of the Nuggets and Thunder, and just looking on the court, and they've got 3 guys who are bigger than pretty much anybody on the Thunder team, right? With Jokic, and then Aaron Gordon, and even Michael Porter is a 6'10" guy.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and
so they just got 3 really big guys out there.
And the thought was, we're going to pick somebody up at the trade deadline. Got Gordon Hayward. I think that's a good pick. He's still pretty effective in the league in terms of getting his buckets. I think it probably helps out kind of with some of the deficiencies they've been getting from Giddey this year. But definitely in the draft, they're going to have to address size. But they've got the draft capital to do it. They can go literally draft whoever the heck they want because
correct. And then who knows? They might try to move up, or they might try to make a big free agent move this offseason. I was hoping they would try to get marketing from Utah, but who knows what Utah would have been asking for. Because I know they're not going to give up Shea, they're not going to give up Holmgren, and they're not going to give up Jalen Williams. So
yeah.
I think anybody else, I think they'd likely be willing to move. But those 3 guys, I would imagine, are untouchable.
I mean, they don't really even have to move anybody necessarily with all the draft picks they've got. They can do it from that. But listen, Presti, this is the first time where we've seen it work in baseball, the tanking. The tanking has worked in baseball. I think of teams like the Rays, the Astros, like for whatever reason, baseball's it works. You don't see it in the NFL very much. You haven't seen it work, and in the NBA, you really haven't seen it. I mean, the 76ers have never.
Yeah, the process. No, they've never made the finals.
And that's with Embiid, and you're starting to see with the Thunder, man. Maybe the process actually worked, and it's even more important that it's a small market team.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Kevin, the Spurs kind of tanked to get Duncan back in '96. So I will say that Robinson was hurt. I don't know if he was that hurt.
Did they tank to get Wembanyama? Probably, right? A little
Absolutely.
bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So we'll see how that works out as far as wins and losses go. We know he's a generational talent.
Am I missing a team that's tanked though that's come back and been really good?
I don't think so. No, not that I can think of. I can't. I'm looking. At least this is the West. I can't think of any teams that have tanked and actually won as a result of it. Because
Yeah.
usually, if you're tanking, you're trying to get. There's got to be like a historical player out there. You tank for LeBron, right? You
But that's
tank
the thing.
for.
The Thunder really didn't do that, right? They've
They
just
didn't. No, they just made good moves. And that trade. I mean, think about the trades that they've made over the years, especially the Paul George trade. That's really what set this up. You got Shea and you got draft picks, but ended up becoming players like Jalen Williams. So and Chet Holmgren even.
yeah. Yeah, no, he's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
All
he's a
right,
wizard,
dude.
man.
Kevin, great show. All our listeners out there, thank you so much for listening, watching, whatever you do. Please share with your friends. We need to get some Texas fans on here. We've got a great group of Oklahoma fans, largely through the Ref, which we appreciate. The Ref Army out there supporting us. But yeah, make sure you're sharing and talking it up. I know it's not football season, but that's okay. We need to get ready because it's coming. Not fast enough, but it's coming. Kevin, any closing words tonight?
No, man. Again, just appreciate everybody listening and watching, and the continued support. And yeah, we'll be talking football all year long. The season never ends for us.
Kevin, have a great night. Boomer!
Hook 'em.